Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to the video. There's another paid request this time for Richard. And I definitely want to commend Richard. He was very generous. Thank you so much, man. If you ever see this, I really, truly appreciate it. And he wanted me to talk about the Avengers from 2012, as well as the MCU then and now. Now, it's strange. I actually liked the MCU when it started. I liked Iron Man. I liked the Captain America trilogy. I liked the Incredible Hulk. I even liked Thor from 2011. In fact, of that time, I probably thought that the Avengers movie, this was the weakest of the group. Because while I still don't love the Avengers, when I rewatch the film again, I'm like, man, it's so sad how refreshingly better this is compared to the MCU of today. It's like I've seen so many other worse stuff become the drizzling shits that the Avengers has kind of risen up without having to do anything. Risen up in status. Because I remember when I first reviewed this back in the day, and sadly that review's no longer around, I was very kind of meh on the film. I don't remember hating the film, but lukewarm. I was very lukewarm. I said, it has kind of a fun finale. I like some of the characters, but, I remember the time going, man, Loki is a villain again? And then sadly, he was one of the better villains when you looked at the other Marvel and other fucking superhero films. Because Joss Whedon, however you feel about him as a person, what he did do, didn't do, he knew how to work with, how do I put it? He knew how to work with a group of people in terms of the cast of characters. He showed that in writing Buffy the Vampire Slayer, he showed that in Firefly, and then the movie Serenity, and he showed that with this. He knew how to get a group of characters and make them interact with each other and have their own place in the movie so they don't feel pointless, and give people their moments to shine. I still think the best Avengers film is Age of Ultron. I think that's the most underrated Avengers film. I will still never understand why that film gets shit, but then Infinity War and Endgame get the pass. Any problems you give on Age of Ultron, you could easily give on Infinity War and Endgame. You could. But Avengers Age of Ultron, to me, is much more fun, much more action-packed, much more satisfying. I think it's better directed. I think it's better written. I think it has a much more entertaining villain, and it has more workable humor compared to the Hulk giving people fucking tacos and whatever the fuck else they did in those movies. Fat Thor. People make fun of Age of Ultron, but then you want to praise the film with Thor becoming the Big Lebowski and fucking Hulk giving breakfast tacos and taking selfies. Fuck if I know. But I looked at this film, I'm like, okay, there is CGI, but there's a decent amount of practical work throughout it. It does utilize a lot of the cast of characters, whether it be Nick Fury, and just how more serious a lot of these characters are in this movie. Where yes, there could be pieces of humor, some a little bit out of place, but those little nudges could be more easygoing. Like, for example, when Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. is like, that guy's playing Galaga. And then, as the scene ends, it cuts to one of the people going back to play Galaga. Okay, that's goofy. But those little nudges I could let go, because a lot of times these people are taking it seriously. Thor is taking this very seriously. Because he deals with his brother and the situation. The way he talks, the way he speaks, the way he acts is not a goofball. Your Robert Downey Jr. does have that sarcastic wit, but there's a lot of times Robert Downey Jr. is taking the situation seriously, especially in conversations with Captain America and the way him and Cap interact with each other. Even Mark Ruffalo and how he's taking it more seriously compared to what you would see later on. Although it did make me realize, watch this again, that Edward Norton was so much better than Mark Ruffalo. Even in this one, like, I think at the time, I'm like, okay, I'd deal with Mark Ruffalo. I do like his Hulk design in the third act. But Edward Norton was so much better in giving you that acting performance. And I do think when they chose Mark Ruffalo, it was a downgrade. Even before the complete destruction of that character into goofball. And even Loki, in the way he's approaching, is fairly serious. It's not a joke every 5 minutes, like in movies nowadays. So you have Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. I think Nick Fury actually has stuff to do. He actually feels important to the story. Building up the S.H.I.E.L.D. and dealing with Loki. Loki arrives and has the Tesseract, the device that was at the end. Not the end, but it was in Captain America, the First Avenger. That you find out is one of the Infinity Stones. And Loki wants to conquer. Nick Fury's like, we got no quarrel with you. Well, an ant has no quarrel with a boot. Loki is able to turn Jeremy Renner's character of Hawkeye. So you don't get the bit you give Hawkeye's either as a villain turned, and then in the third act he's been turned back to good. And this is what I liked about Avengers Age of Ultron. You get to see a bit more about his character, his family, his wife and kids. So again, he gets moments to shine. Let's say each character gets their moment to shine in the third act, which is very hard to do, but Joss Whedon made it work fairly well. The introduction of Black Widow. Black Widow seems like she has more merit of moments in this movie alone than she did in her own goddamn movie. Where it'd be tied up to a chair and fighting it to knock people out, or at the end of the film when she has to jump onto this flying device and knock them out and get to the roof and help was it Stellan Skarsgård? Or I forget the actor's name. I think it was Stellan Skarsgård, to help him close the portal. And she felt like she had more to do in this movie than in her own goddamn movie. And introducing Captain America, boxing is a man out of his element. Tony Stark, I don't like to be handed things, trying to be with Gwyneth Paltrow, but realizing this serious situation. And Thor coming down to try to stop Loki. And I think Joss Whedon, I do give a bit more respect to the film with what Joss Whedon had to accomplish in one movie, where I still have issues. Before I do that, I still have issues with the film. If people go, well, why don't you love the film? It feels like the big middle section, it just wasn't as exciting as I felt it could have been. Iron Man and Captain America, a good part of that middle section is them fixing the fucking plane. The best way I put it is the whole, what you call that, S.H.I.E.L.D. hovering aircraft carrier. It's damaged. Iron Man and Captain America, shooting at some, try to get to a lever. Or Iron Man filling with gears. Like, the only bit of that was interesting was Hulk and Thor having a bit of a fight and a struggle. I know they built up the death of Agent Coulson, but I didn't give a shit about Agent Coulson. I'm like, he's okay, but I didn't really give a shit that he died. I don't watch the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. I don't. The actor is not bad, but it's like I don't really give a fuck about Agent Coulson. I never gave a shit. I'm like, okay, good, he dead. Whoop de fucking do. So that was kind of the thing. I didn't give a shit. So I did that whole middle section was kind of. It's about what 2.5 hour movie, at least like 2 hours and 20 minutes. And it's one of those things that it takes a bit of time, understandably so, but you have to build it up where you have to bring everybody in. We gotta take this amount of time, and maybe it's just one of those things that damned if you do, damned if you don't. You have to take time a little bit to how do we get where are each of these people at and how do we get them in. Okay, we gotta get Captain America in, we gotta get Iron Man in, we gotta get Thor in, we gotta set those scenes up. Okay, we gotta we gotta get Black Widow in, we gotta get Hawkeye in. They've been introducing others. I think Hawkeye was in Thor and Black Widow was in Iron Man 2. So how do we find a way to get all these people in? That's going to take some time. And, they try to make it a little bit exciting. You have a bit of a fight between Iron Man and Thor. Before that, you had a little bit between Captain America and Loki, one-on-one, a little bit. I do like the bit where Chris Evans, who did a really good job, how we feel about him and his politics, he does a great job as Captain America. And, the way he tossed to Loki, there's a guy I knew back in Germany back in the day. They were saying the same things you were saying. Neil, not today. I do wish he was able to get a few more shots into Loki, but that's just me. I do like Iron Man Arise with the AC/DC music. I thought that was a nice touch. I do think Robert Downey Jr. has some fun Tony Stark type of lines. For example, after the fight with Thor, when they see each other again, he's like, "No hard feelings, Point Break." I call him Thor Point Break. Patrick Swayze from Point Break. Or he was making fun of the way Thor talked. "Dost thou?" Which seemed like something he would do. But there's still serious what was, especially between Captain America and Iron Man. Captain America going, "You're not the guy to make the sacrifice play." I wish we could have seen even more of that. And you do see a little bit more of that in the second film. Definitely much more of that in Captain America Civil War. So as I'm watching, I'm like, okay. It just felt refreshing on how, while there are pieces of humor, how it was taking itself fairly seriously. To make it feel as if it's actual danger, that there's actual consequences. And while, again, even the beginning action scene where Nick Fury is trying to chase after Loki, as Loki has Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner's character, and others controlled, and cars are getting shot and they're flipping over, and a lot of that's done practical. And in the finale in New York, there's CGI elements, yes, but then there's Captain America and such on the ground. There's CGI, but they use practical when they could. And you see the moments meant to be crowd pleasers. Like when Mark Ruffalo comes in the third act and says, "You want to know my secret? I'm always angry." and then boom, he turns to the Hulk, and he smashes his big thing, and it's like, okay, that's a crowd pleaser moment. That's a moment they go, yeah, if you're a Hulk fan. And I said, Joss Whedon knew how to handle that for the team. Hulk smash, and Hulk's happy about that and go smashing all the shit. That's okay. Each person has their designated moment. Thor's going to shoot the lightning into the portal to destroy stuff. Captain America's got to work on the ground, and he goes into this one, like a bank area, fighting bad guys and using the shield. Iron Man's going around using his propulsor rays, and Jeremy Renner has a lot of cool moves with the arrows. And also, this bit that I noticed, I didn't watch it, is that each person gets their moment to fuck up Loki. Except Captain America. Captain America in the third act doesn't really get that, but everybody else does. Maybe they just, hey, Captain America was fighting Loki at the beginning of the film. So, but he doesn't really get his moment. Like, I'm actually trying to think if Iron Man did either. I don't know if, just like Thor has his moments to fight Loki. Hulk, of course, literally beats everyone the fuck out of Hulk. I mean, Hulk literally beats the fuck out of Loki. It's this puny god. That's definitely a moment that people remember from the film. Hawkeye's able to shoot an arrow, and Loki catches it, and then it blows up in his face. I will say that to the point that I do think Tom Hiddleston does a good job acting as Loki. When it got to the third act, even in this film, he felt less and less like a threat because that kept happening, where I didn't either Hulk be in the shadow of him or Hawkeye getting the drop on him and so on and so forth. I think even Black Widow got some hits on him. I can't remember. Could be wrong on that. But Loki just felt less and less like a threat by the end of it. I think by that time I'm like, oh, Loki I had just seen in Thor, which is the year before. And that's why I was hoping for like a different villain. Tom Hiddleston did do a good job playing the character. But at the same time, it's like, even he, like I said, there's a reason why Hulk said puny god. He didn't feel like an intimidation factor. Better way to put it. There are great moments in there. I do like the line where Loki's like, I have an army. And then Tony's like, we got a Hulk. Which fits well. And like I said, each character has their moments to shine in the third act. Even Black Widow. People want to talk about whatever Joss Whedon. I mean, Black Widow in these films has merit to her. Like when Loki's been captured, and you think he's got the drop on her verbally, and then she's like, wait a minute. Banner. He wants to get the Hulk pissed off and break the area that they're in. Oh, it's Banner. Thanks for the info. Thank you. And then this sort of dumbfounded look on Loki's face. I thought that was a nice moment. Female empowerment without having to slam your head against the fucking wall. The score is average. I don't mind the theme. The rest of the score, like I said, it's average. It's there. I've heard better. I've heard worse. Like I said, the middle section feels a bit slowed down, a bit meh. The thing that people remember the most is the third act, like the last 30 or so minutes of the movie, which makes sense because that's what's building up to this big battle in New York. Working together. On a quick note, I do remember the trailer that had that song from, what is it, Nine Inch Nails? Together Now. Because I always thought it was kind of a cool choice to really pump you up for the film. And also, you just looked at the cast, the characters they had in this. Now you look at what they have today, and you just miss. You miss this group and showed how important they were to the whole equation. Because you go down the list, Chris Evans, again, how do you feel about him personally? Very capable with Captain America. And this goes to the then and now portion that Richard wanted me to talk about. Even before I get to the cast, the way the filmmaking is done. Nowadays, MCU feels like they're so comfortable with the formula that they just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Make sure we have a ton of comedy. Make sure we have a ton of references to 80s pop culture, or this and that. Whether it be music, or references, or Easter eggs. Make sure we have some type of diversity clause in there in some way, shape, or form. Let's not have the film, even though there should be things to be taken seriously, it won't be that long, because it'll be devolving into comedy and jokes and other shit within 5 minutes. Because we gotta be more fun. But again, you see just how a lot of seriousness is with a lot of this. Again, with the way the Hulk character, Bruce Banner, is treated. Again, the way Captain America and Iron Man talk to each other. The way Thor is fairly dead serious throughout the entire film, as he should be. It's one of those scenes where you wish now for this type of film to be made for Marvel. And to get back to the characters, like Captain America with Chris Evans, I think he had the best films in the whole MCU filmography from 2008 to now. Robert Downey Jr., charming, funny, likable, sarcastic wit. You missed some things during. I know you missed some things during your time as a capsicle. Just Captain America was a big popsicle. Jeremy Renner, he's a good actor. I've enjoyed him in many films, whether it be The Town, whether it be Wind River. Very capable actor. I'm glad he's getting better health-wise. And felt like there'd be a lot of potential. Then they squandered that with this female Hawkeye. Let's let her take all the shit away from him. So we can't have Hawkeye get a movie, and even a TV show. He can't even be the focus. Whatever the fuck, because we need to make room for the female Hawkeye. I'm not a big Scarlett Johansson fan. I've never been a big Scarlett Johansson fan. But again, you watch these early ways of showcasing Black Widow. She was nice to look at, but she was also capable and smart and a badass. And then you watch Avengers 1 and 2, there's multiple moments that showcases that. The Hulk, again, Mark Ruffalo, I think, was a downgrade from Edward Norton. I think Edward Norton was a better actor. I think he worked better as Bruce Banner. Mark Ruffalo, even this one, like I said, I don't think I minded his performance when I first saw it. Now I'm like, he just sounds awkward. I think it's actually, of that group, he's the weakest performance of the group. But at the flip side, I do appreciate the seriousness of Bruce Banner. When Scarlett Johansson goes up to first meet him, you don't take me in? I mean, I don't know what the other guy will think about it. Or the bit later where, well, you don't try to kill me? You can't. I already tried. And then people are like, what? So I guess they're referencing the deleted scene in The Incredible Hulk, which I find funny. You know, people got mad at Edward Norton, and then one of the scenes he wanted was the scene they deleted, but then they reference it in this movie. I put a gun in my mouth. I tried to swallow a bullet, and the other guy spit it out. Like that was a nice little moment. But then the Hulk had to be the. You know what? You want to showcase the de-evolution, the destruction of the MCU? The Hulk is the perfect character to look into that. Seriously, all you have to do is look at the Incredible Hulk. A guy that's filled with drama from this guy that wants to live a life, but if he gets too angry, he becomes a force of destruction, and how they can deal with you psychologically, loneliness, to the fucking theme. Do 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 do. And instead, they went from that, which has a lot of interesting dramatic possibilities and character work, to okay, Thor Ragnarok, there's the Hulk, and Mark Ruffalo's trying to be funnier, and the Hulk is goofier, and you have the bit where Bruce Banner jumps, kind of like he did in Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk, only this time he becomes a pancake, because cue the laugh track, and then the Hulk, comes up. Even as the Hulk, trying to talk with Thor and how he's so much better than Thor, and again, cue the laugh track, and then you go into Infinity War, destruction of the character, ass hit by Thanos in 5 seconds, because of a gigantic fucking pussy that he's too scared to come out, so you never see him in the film again until Endgame, which now there's a fusion where Steve Urkel Hulk. I know there's Smart Hulk in the comics, I get that, but the way it's implemented here, doing selfies, and here's a breakfast tacos, and like everything's done for comedic. Even when they go back in time, and oh my god, it's so embarrassing to see the Hulk in this movie. Oh, it's so embarrassing I was doing that. No, you're the embarrassment. You're the motherfucking embarrassment. Puny dick. You're the Hulk with a puny dick. The Hulk of 2012 is the thunderbolt, of thundercock, of thunder dicks, of thunder fucking and lightning of Hulks. Although my favorite Hulk film is still the 2003 film. I know I'm alone in that, but that's still my favorite Hulk film is the 2003 film. But that's just me. But I do like the Incredible Hulk from 2008. I do think they're both better than the way Hulk is nowadays. Try to think of the other characters. I mean, what characters do you have nowadays? Shang-Chi, Captain Marvel, the Eternals. Don't get me started what they've done with Doctor Strange. What the hell else do you have for characters? Oh, War Machine. Done really nothing with him. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, nothing to really get you that excited. I'm sure the new Avengers films will still make money of some way, shape, or form, because, hey, it's Friday night, need somewhere to go to the movies, and that has a big budget. Maybe at least see some spectacle eye candy. Give me a ticket. But you don't really have either capable heroes you can believe in, like Captain America or Thor, or personalities that you enjoy, like Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man. or people you're interested to see their potential, like Hawkeye, and you don't have that in shit nowadays. It's just crazy. Watch this again. Like you said, I think back to the day, I would give this like a 3 out of 5. Nowadays, I'd probably give this like a 3.5 at least out of 5, but like a stronger 3.5. Because while I do think the film is a tad long, it's a bit too long. I do think the middle section there's a bit of boredom to set in there. I think Loki in the third act becomes more of a joke than a threat because of his constant getting his ass kicked by everybody. So I didn't really feel him as a threat anymore by the end. You know, the other villains are pretty much just faceless creatures that kind of not really that noteworthy. Was the Chitari Centauri? I forget what the fuck they're called. Doesn't matter. Like I said, I don't give a shit about Agent Coulson's death. I know they tried to make that a big point, but I didn't care. So it fell flat for me. The score, like I said, is average score. It's nothing Superman the movie, Batman, Danny Elfman, any of that remarkable quality. But you know what it did? It respected its characters and in a weird way respected its audience. I think that's the crucial difference to what an MCU film does today. It doesn't respect the characters, it doesn't respect the heroes, it doesn't respect the audience. They don't take the story seriously at all. They don't take the characters seriously. Most of them turn to a fucking joke where they fit in some moral, in their view, moral ambiguity of wokeness and empowerment or diversity of sexism, racism, however the hell the case may be, or we need to showcase more and more humor and entertainment value because of the success of films like Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor Ragnarok. Those are the two films that MCU felt every movie has to be this. Every movie has to be Thor Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy. Because those did get buzz when they came out. Because it wasn't Thor the Dark World, although I think that film sucks. I'm like, the ones that got the more buzz was Captain America trilogy, because I think those are some of the better ones, but they didn't follow Captain America trilogy, they followed Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor Ragnarok. And again, with all the other stuff, and also not having actual directors and writers, but having people that don't know shit about comics, don't know shit about camaraderie of characters among each other, just we have something to say and teach people and preach. Force that into the narrative. Or you know what? You look at the way how some of these characters interact with each other. They look at like Ant-Man, Quantumania, and what that fucking character of MODOK. Is there anybody in this first Avengers film that's at all as goofy, stupid as that MODOK and the way they made that? Well, actually, that's this guy, and his face is stretched down and looks like a fucking nightmare. Or do you have Freddy Krueger nightmares? Give me a fucking break. So, in a weird way, Avengers 2012 seems quaint compared to a film nowadays, especially in the MCU. And the Avengers did feel like an event that was built up and a lot of people watching were satisfied. Because it still felt like a new game, new ball game. Nowadays, I mean, there's been 4 Avengers films. Hell, you could say Captain America Civil War was an Avenger film. So it'd be technically like 5 films. Like I said, they don't do all these other Avenger films later. They'll make money, I'm sure, because it'll be a big event and people will want the spectacle. How much money will it make? That's the question. Because there have been some MCU films recently that have underperformed. Even superhero films. Hell, Evil Dead Rise made more money than Shazam 2. So some of these films can falter when you. It's this thing I always say. Even if you like the cereal, do you want that cereal every goddamn day? No. You're like, you know what? Today I want some baked. What the fuck? Bacon and eggs. Get them together. It's called baked. Bacon, eggs, sausage, pancakes, waffles. I sound like fucking Stallone's mom, and stopping my mom will shoot. You gotta eat all this before you leave. But mom, I'm not hungry. Sound like Stell Yeti from that movie. The MCU today, either they need a rude awakening where one of these films, at least say Ant-Man 3 seemed like it underperformed, and others, they need like one of these big Avenger films to just completely bomb. Will that happen? I'm not holding my breath because I'm cynical, but they need one of these big Avenger movies to bomb and go, you built up with a group of characters that you thought people liked more than they really did. Like when you saw these characters here, people were curious and enjoying Captain America. What are they going to do with this Hulk? Do people really give a shit about what's going to happen with Shang-Chi? Do people really give a shit what's going to happen with Captain Marvel? It made $1 billion. Whoop! I don't give a fuck if it made $1 trillion. Doesn't mean it's good. Doesn't mean it's worth shit. The Macarena was a fucking huge hit as well. Do people give a shit about the Macarena nowadays? Fuck no. Hey, Macarena. That was a huge fucking hit too. Vanilla Ice was a huge hit at one fucking point. Do you think anyone gives a shit about Vanilla Ice? Fuck no. And I'm a guy that loves Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze. I think that's the worst part of that fucking movie is they ninja rap sucks my dick. Wrap my dick around his fucking neck and drive him off the fucking stage. That's what I think of Ninja Rap. Fuck Ninja Rap. I love Secret of the Ooze. Fucking hate Ninja Rap. Vanilla Ice can kiss my fucking icicle right between my legs and melt in his mouth like a bunch of M&Ms. Fuck Eminem. Actually, fuck M&Ms. I hate M&Ms unless they're peanut M&Ms. I like the rapper Eminem. He's like a good version of Vanilla Ice. And fuck Vanilla Ice. My dick can melt in his mouth like a pair of M&Ms. Fuck Vanilla Ice. Anyway, my point is just because it's successful doesn't mean worth shit. MCU, they're a shell of their former self. They don't have outro writers and directors. They've even said, fucking outright admitted, that directors don't really have a vision. They don't even get to direct action scenes and so on and so forth. I bet Joss Whedon had a lot more control on this film, and this. I think there's a word that he might not have had as much control in the second film, but I still think he pulled it off fairly well. When these things get bigger, you get more of a committee, and they're like, we want to not fuck up the protocol, which is ironic, because that's what you ended up doing eventually, was fuck up the protocol. So, as a film, Tom Hiddleston did a good job acting as Loki. Like I said, he just became a bit of a joke in the third act. Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, they filled out their roles fairly well, and for the most part took it seriously, which makes sense because it's a serious threat. But again, there's still bits of humor, like the shawarma bit at the very end credits, where Robert Downey Jr. says, "Oh yeah, there's a bit over here, we should go." And then the last after credit scene is them kind of eating after the battle of Shawarma. Like, that's one of the better bits of humor because it fits among the. It's a good natured laugh from the audience, but doesn't feel so in your face and forced in humor. Again, what I mean by that is, let's have a joke, cue the laugh track from the old sitcom days. So overall, I like the film. I think it's grown a little bit on me since then. But that happens when you see almost 10 years later, over 10 years, 11 years later, how completely, utterly they destroyed the MCU. Destroyed it. How do you deny it? Regurgitation, repetitiveness, hammering down on goofy, silly humor, hiring people that do not know how to write characters, how to take the story seriously, look down upon them, follow the popular trends. Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor Ragnarok, let's follow them. Not have their own identities and become even more beat for beat cliches. And add even more and more CGI. Like, there's CGI in the Avengers 2012, but it felt like, I said, quaint compared to what the fuck they do in all these movies nowadays. And they look worse today. I don't know what it is. It feels like the CGI today looks worse than this film from 2012. I don't know what the fuck the deal is. I don't know what the fuck the deal is. But go figure. But anyway, thanks once again, Richard. Thank you guys for watching. Take care. And we will see you later. Bye-bye.